The content of this meeting is being sent to a third party.
I think we're
I
live
guess
now,
that's
right?
okay.
Yes, yes. It says we are live now. So thank you for joining us. This is the Carolina Weather Group. We hope you are having a great Wednesday evening. And if you've been searching around on social media, I'm sure you've heard the potential of some wintry weather affecting portions of the Carolinas. And we know it's January, and we've been talking about this active storm pattern that's been really well forecasted over the month of December. And we're finally here to see what that pattern will have for us. And so tonight, joining us is Christian Morgan, meteorologist at WFMY, and we have meteorologist Dylan Hudler, who you may remember from Mississippi State. Well, we've grabbed him back from Mississippi. I'll let him announce where he's going to be at here real soon. And then we also have Frank Strait, who is with the University of South Carolina, the state of South Carolina. I guess, Frank, if you want to work for the university, you can. I mean,
I did go to school at USC for 3.5 years
did.
back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Spent the first part of my college career flunking out of engineering school.
Frank Strait is the severe weather liaison for the state of South Carolina. So Frank's going to be telling us about what's going on here in South Carolina. So Dylan, before we get into the big story tonight, you have a big story to tell for those who have not seen the special announcement on social media. What you have to share with everybody?
I've got some big news to share. After spending almost 4 years down in Mississippi and 2 years working part-time at WCBI TV in Columbus, Mississippi, I'm honored to accept a position up here back home in the Triad at WXII 12 News in Winston-Salem. Christian and I are going to be competitors on the morning show, working alongside each other. And it's good to be back here in the Carolinas, hop on here and talk about the forecast and things coming up. It's going to be busy. It's going to be busy, fellas. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, Dylan, we're all excited to have you back in the Carolinas. I know you're happy to be back here, and
so excited.
Now we're gonna have some new friends to talk to when we have some adverse weather coming into the Piedmont Triad. So the big story tonight is what could be happening over the weekend. First of all, right now we do have some rain moving through the area with a little low pressure system that's moving up the Atlantic coast. Not really expected to produce anything wintry across the area, but some rain showers are possible tonight along North and South Carolina, and that'll quickly move out tomorrow. And then our attention turns to Saturday, and Saturday looks to be one of two storms that we are tracking over the next 7 days. And both of them could be bringing some pretty impactful weather to the Carolinas, both North and South Carolina. And so tonight we're going to talk about the Saturday storm, and then we may come back on late weekend to kind of look at what's going to happen on Saturday, as that could bring a whole new element of weather into the area. So let's kind of talk about what's going on. And Christian, you and Dylan live up in the Triad, the Piedmont, both cover the mountainous sections of North Carolina. And that kind of seems to be where the attention is right now. So I'll let you guys start off. Whoever wants to go first, you can rock, paper, scissors, however you want to do it.
Go ahead, Christian.
Let's see what's going on up that way.
All right. Yeah. So, we've talked a lot. I think we can sort of preface this weekend. We've talked a lot here in recent couple of months about an El Nino pattern that's setting up. And now as we start the year, we're really starting to see that sort of take hold and take effect. And of course, we talked about probably having a wetter winter than usual, but probably not meaning that we get a lot of snow. So we're sort of seeing that right now. We're seeing an active pattern, but an active pattern in the winter, even though there's a lot of moisture, doesn't always mean that there's going to be snow, even if it's chilly. So, everything has to line up for us here, especially in the Piedmont of North Carolina, to really get a significant snow or winter storm. So this time around, when we talk about an active weather pattern, what does that mean? Well, the subtropical jet to our south is very active. And so over the next week or so, we're going to have a new storm system tracking through the south and our way, probably every 3 to 5 days, at least the way that the pattern looks right now, if you look long term. So what does that mean for us? Well, yeah, it's going to be chilly, but it's not really going to be cold. And for us to get snow, what you really want is a nice high pressure to our north and east, moving through Canada, out of Greenland, really supplying and continuing to supply that cold air. We just don't have that this time of the round. Our storm system, yes, coming from the south, it's going to be loaded with moisture for Saturday. but it doesn't mean that we're going to get snow. The mountains may see some snow, but it's kind of a fluke and kind of a funky thing for them too. So let's talk about the Piedmont, and Dylan, you can kind of pick up wherever you want to, but we have the storm system moving in. I will say the good thing about this is that it's a quick mover. And so I think for that reason, we've probably seen rain totals sort of trend downward. I think at least for our area, the Piedmont area, half an inch to maybe up to an inch of rain is going to be possible. But the big question and why we're talking so much about this tonight is the potential of what it brings as it starts. So I've seen some chatter on social media and from meteorologists that we call them, folks who like to hype things up on the internet, saying that, hey, we're going to end a snowless streak. In Greensboro, we've had a 700-day plus snowless streak. That's not going to end this weekend. We're not set up to get snow. We're not really set up to have a significant winter storm. What we are set up for, though, is a little bit of freezing rain or icing at the onset of this early Saturday morning. Temperatures are going to be at freezing or just below, sort of borderline. And so that lends a lot of questions as to who gets some ice and who just gets cold rain. I think if you look to the north and west, so, we're centered in Greensboro, Dillon's, and Winston-Salem, same kind of thing, Piedmont Triad, north and west, probably have a better chance of seeing a little bit of light icing early Saturday morning as some of this precip moves in the pre-dawn hours. I think the other thing that we actually haven't talked a lot about, and I haven't seen many meteorologists actually talk about, is that anytime we have really dry air, you have to think about the atmosphere as a sponge, right? So when you stick a brand new or dry sponge right under the faucet, it doesn't start to water doesn't start to come out the bottom immediately, right? You have to soak that sponge up, and the atmosphere sort of works the same way. So we're going to have really dry air in place before this gets here. So I think as some of the precip moves in overnight, early Saturday morning, we oftentimes see, as you saturate that column of air, you start to see a little bit of sleet forming. And even though the atmospheric profile doesn't really support that, I think very early Saturday morning, while most of us are still sleeping, I think there could be a little bit of sleet falling just at the onset of this. And then as you cool the column of air, I think we could see a little period of freezing rain or some light icing. I think that may mean, very minor impacts in the foothills and the mountains. Actually, we'll start to see some freezing rain, then transitioning to a cold rain before they go back to snow on Saturday night. But for us, by mid-morning, midday, at least in the Piedmont, this has turned into a cold rain that'll linger at least through Saturday evening. And again, with the quick speed of this, I think our rain totals have come down a little bit. This is in and out of here by Saturday night. Sunday, we're drying it out. And then we watch another system on the way for Tuesday. But this is basically going to be a cold, breezy rain for our Saturday. And at least in the Piedmont Triad, I really don't foresee much in the way of impacts. Bridges, maybe elevated surfaces, seeing a little bit of slickness, light icing early in the morning, but this is going to end up being a cold rain for all of us. We don't have that constant supply of cold air to keep things freezing. And of course, latent heat release, all of that. I think we're going to end up, pretty much just with a cold rain for Saturday.
Right, Christian. I completely agree with you. Looking over everything, you talked about the active subtropical jet and this pattern. We're getting systems coming through just about every 3 to 5 days, which is during this time of year in the Carolinas. It's the storm track that we want to see, but there's certainly more that goes into it. We're looking at storm track, we're looking at moisture, we're looking at the amount of cold air. And we always say the cold air has to be here first. Well, we have that area of high pressure off to our north, but it's not exactly in the right location. It's pumping some cold air in, but by the time that low pressure system starts to move our way from along the Gulf Coast, that area of high pressure is weakened and moved off to the east a little bit. So we don't have that constant supply of cold air. As the system gets closer, we finally start to get a little bit more moisture in here with some rain early in the day on Saturday. I agree with Christian. Surface temperatures may be just cold enough for a little bit of freezing rain in the Piedmont Triad to accumulate right around 31, 32, 33 degrees. Elevated surfaces will most likely be where we have to watch out for some things. And it could be a little bit of a bigger problem right along the eastern facing slopes of the foothills, where more cold air has gotten kind of stuck, for lack of a better term, and has pooled up there. There may be a coating, may cause some issues on the overpasses, bridges, elevated surfaces and stuff. But I think, as with most winter weather systems here in the Carolinas, along and north and west of I-85, Christian, is about where we're looking for the best chance to see a little bit of freezing rain Saturday morning. And, as the sun's coming up, or the sun is coming up, it's getting lighter outside in the morning, right? It'll be cloudy. We won't be able to see the sun, but just enough, to see a little bit of a shine on the tree limbs, something like that. Just maybe enough to notice looking off through the distance. Again, yeah, I think that's a good map there, made with Scotty's graphic system. That looks good. Higher elevations, we'll see a little bit of snow, but we've got this one system working past now, mainly with rain to our south. Lots of dry air over the Piedmont Triad. Not expecting a whole lot of that. Maybe some sprinkles overnight tonight. And this Saturday system is just now coming onto the West Coast. So weather balloons are just now starting to sample this data and feed that into our weather models, so we get a little bit of a better picture. I think it's pretty safe to say now, though, that there is the potential for some freezing rain, and like Christian mentioned, some sleet on Saturday morning. This is certainly the storm track we want to see, and we want to see this kind of moisture as well, but it's super picky, the atmosphere. We want everything to line up just right, and we're so close. We're kind of teetering on that line between a decent snow event for us here, and then just a nasty, sloppy, cold rain all day on Saturday. Unfortunately, we're going to be on the cold rain side of things. I just don't think we have enough cold air getting pumped in like we need to, or we've seen in the past with big time snow stuff.
I think you said it, Dylan. Our storm track is, it is right on the money, right? But that's only just half of the equation, right? You have to have that constant supply of cold air. And also, it's a typical thing around here. Everybody says, well, how come we don't get snow? How come we have the cold air, but we have, moisture? How come we don't ever get snow? A lot of times we have those Miller B setups that we call them in weather with that secondary low pressure system. And when that's added into the equation, that really kicks in that warm nose or that layer of warm air up above the ground. That changes everything, right? That's right. Where our freezing rain problems. And it is so tough. I explain to people and talk to people all the time and tell them, hey, we have cold air, but we have moisture, but that's not it. It's about the levels of the atmosphere. Where's the cold air coming from? How is that supply getting here? And really, for us, what we want to see a good snowstorm here in the Carolinas is really having a week of really cold air. And then you get your moisture to move in and you keep supplying that cold air. That's why a lot of times we say you got to have the cold air here first before it happens. Typically, a cold air chasing moisture event is an absolute strikeout for us. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but this is not, even over the next week, even though there are opportunities here for us to have storm systems, there's no real good look for snow that I can find. And again, this event this weekend is low impact. Foothills, mountains are the folks who really see, the freezing rain. And I think actually, if you move up into Virginia, West Virginia, those slopes, those are the folks that actually are going to have, some decent icing, and probably will have some more major, I wouldn't say major, but, some more impactful weather, at least on Saturday, with things being a little slick.
Right. Up 77, crossing from North Carolina into Virginia. That could get slick up there on I-77, up the Blue Ridge toward Roanoke, Blacksburg. Up through there, as well as that low pressure gets a little bit more organized. And you said it as well, our supply of cold air from the high pressure is kind of weakening, but we also have that low pressure area working to bring in warm air. So we've got the warm air over top of the marginal cold air. It's really not what we want to see here for snow in the Carolinas.
I'll say one more thing, and I'll give it back to Scotty or Frank. I think also one thing that we've kind of missed, or maybe we haven't missed it, but we haven't talked a lot about it here, just because our focus has been on the weekend and our active storm track. But just a month ago, we were in a significant drought. That's well over. Now we've continued to get system after system of inches of rain, at least around here. So the drought is not something we're talking about anymore. And when folks say, hey, we need the rain to end the drought's over. Now we're talking about several storm systems within a couple of days of each other that are loaded with moisture. So now, when we're not so worried so much about the drought, I'd be concerned about watching some flash flooding potential, and it wouldn't take very long, especially over the next few days and over the next week or so.
Right, that Tuesday system could really come in behind and pack a punch, drop in a couple inches over the Piedmont and cause some issues for sure.
Yeah, especially this time of the year, it's prone to flash flooding because your grass is really dormant, so the ground's not really soaking in that rain. It just kind of runs off, and like Christian said, Frank, I'm sure has got the numbers for South Carolina, but we've had multiple storm systems with multiple inches of rain. I want to share a screen for you for just right quick for those who are watching. Christian and Dylan did a great job of describing what was going on. And so here's the kind of the setup. We want to thank Tropical Tidbits for this. And here's the high pressure that we're talking about. When I put this in motion for a winter weather setup, you kind of want to see that high pressure anchored somewhere and you want to see it stay. But with this one, we call it a transient high because as soon as that moisture moves in, it's moving that high pressure out to sea, and it's not that constant supply of cold air. It's way up here. So it's supplying cold air down into the Shenandoah Valley, up into Pennsylvania, up into the northeast, but it's just not able to maintain itself here into the southeast. So that is the setup. But as I play this out, you can see we've got another storm system that moves through Tuesday, and then the potential for another coastal system. You get the idea that it's going to be very active storm track. So as Christian and Dylan was saying, the storm track is fine. This is what you want if you want winter weather, but you really got to have that cold air supply. So don't give up hope yet. This is a very active pattern in January, and you can only roll the dice so many times before you hit snake eyes, and I think that's what we're playing with here. Everybody's wanting snow. I think Christian put up a graphic today. It's been 704 days since Greensboro has seen snow. You can attribute that to Charlotte as well. The last big snowstorm, what was that, 2 years ago now, almost a year and a half. So it's been a long time, and we're going to get there. I have a feeling that before the winter is over, we'll at least see a little bit of snow across the area just because of the storm track, but this is just not that storm. But one thing I did want to show you guys, share this one more time, because even though I'm still in Myrtle Beach, I have to always pay attention to the weather when it comes to winter weather, because it is my go-to. I love winter weather over anything else. And Dylan did such a great job of describing this area right here. If you're in Buncombe County, from the Black Mountains through McDowell, Burke, Caldwell, Wilkes into Alexander County, the Brushy Mountains. You have the Linville Gorge area right there. That cold air is notorious for hanging on for a long time. So why the main populated areas from Greensboro to Winston-Salem to Statesville, Hickory, Morganton, Marion, you may see, like Dylan and Christian were saying, a trace of ice, a glaze. When you get up into these high countries, that's where that cold air really likes to dam up. And I've seen situations where we've got just a coating of ice in Morganton, and you go 15 miles up the road into the Jonas Ridge area, which is right there along the escarpment, and it's been a 1/4 inch of ice. So it would not surprise me to see those little escarpment areas where that cold air likes to hang on the most. Jonas Ridge, Little Switzerland, Black Mountain being another place where you could see some higher totals, but those are very isolated. I agree with what Dylan and Christian were saying. I think a lot of this will just kind of be that glaze that we see every so often, and by 10 o'clock, everything's starting to melt. So one thing that I want to talk about, Frank, is in these scenarios, sometimes the upstate of South Carolina can kind of get in on this cold air, especially the Greenville Mountains, Spartanburg County Mountains, up in that area. So what are you particularly looking at for at least the upstate right now?
Well, in general, if you're in South Carolina, this is not a storm to get excited about. This is not a storm where you're going to go make a bread, milk, toilet paper, beer, etc. kind of run. It's not like that. Even the areas that do have the potential to see a little bit of ice won't see much, and it won't be around for very long on Saturday morning. So please don't panic. However, there are some areas in the upstate along and north of I-85, mainly north of I-85. And don't start this. That's a north-south highway. Don't say north. If they wanted that, if they want us to not do things like that, they should have given it a different number. But yes, that's going to be the area where we'll have a little bit of concern for ice, and it's mainly going to be a travel concern. There's not going to be enough for any significant buildup on trees and power lines, so we're not going to have any power outages or anything like that. And for the most part, the roads will be fine too. It's the elevated road surfaces, the bridges and overpasses in the upstate, mainly along the North Carolina line, where we'll have to watch out for some icy spots or higher in elevation. That's going to be the concern. Otherwise, it's just going to be a breezy, rainy, cold, ugly day on Saturday for South Carolina, except along the coast. The coastal areas will be a little warmer. You might get some rumbles of thunder there as a result, down in the low country and maybe up in Scotty's area there around the Grand Strand. but it's not going to be a big storm. Good soaking rain, and again, it's been dry in South Carolina too. Although the only place where we have any lingering droughts in the upstate, that will be coming to an end over the next week, I think, because a little bit more rain today, hardly any in the upstate. That was almost all virga you saw on radar across the upstate of South Carolina today, but the next storm coming in Saturday looks like a general half-inch to an inch kind of rain. So that'll be another nail in the coffin for the drought, what is left of it in South Carolina, and that only in the upstate. And then by the time we get to Tuesday, that's going to be a big rain, it looks like, and that will end what is left of the drought, if any is left at that point.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the Grand Strand right quick, and I'll share my screen one more time. Sorry for doing all this. But
no, we love it, Scotty.
I put these graphics
when you're
up.
Extra about it. It's so good to see all this stuff. Seriously.
Right. Well, I've taken the low pressures, the cold fronts, and all that off just to kind of get you a better idea.
Why do we have weather graphics to help tell the story?
That's right.
Tell us that story.
We're gonna tell you. So here's your low pressure. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. You can see it's really getting going. And one thing I'm just curious about is if there's any storm activity up in the panhandle of Florida, how much does that rob any moisture transported up into our area?
They do have a 15% risk there, right?
Yeah, there is that chance. So,
okay,
how much does that rob our rainfall, energy, whatever you want to call it, as it moves up the coast? But as we go throughout the day here along the beach, you can see here by 9 a.m. it's really a lot of heavy rain from the Grand Strand back into the PD, down into the low country, and even the Midlands. But like you guys have been saying, this is a quick moving storm. So you can see by 3 o'clock, a lot of this starting to exit the region. But I'll go back one slide here. You see these isobars right here, these lines. That's a strong fetch of onshore flow. And this will kind of line up with high tide. So we may see a little bit of coastal flooding along the Grand Strand down into the low country. I don't really believe it's going to be anything like we saw back in December, where Myrtle Beach reached the 4th highest water level on record. I think Charleston was second. Was that right, Frank?
Yeah, it was 4th, if I remember correctly.
Okay, 4th. So Myrtle Beach and Charleston both 4th highest record. So we'll get a little bit of an onshore flow there, and that could line up right with high tide. So wouldn't be surprised to see some coastal flooding. Advisories issued for the morning on Saturday, along with some gusty winds. So here's kind of like what we've talked about here today over the last few days. We can see some gusty winds, 25 to 35 mile per hour gusts possible, 1 to 3 inches. The heavier rain really located closer to the coast. Definitely some rough surf, and the severe weather threat for right now looks to be relatively low. I say that because the last storm that we had a couple weeks ago produced the EF1 tornado here in Horry County, so you can never rule out a severe weather threat with these events. But for right now, it looks to be fairly low across the area. But that's kind of what to expect, and then we'll let this storm kind of marinate, and we may jump back on Sunday and kind of talk about what's going to be happening on Tuesday, because that could bring a whole other set of issues to the area. And like Christian was talking about, I would not be surprised to see some flooding between this storm and that storm across the area. Looking at some of our comments here, you guys may know these two names. Tim Buckley wants to know, do you think we're getting snow in Greensboro? He's going to hang up and listen. So
Tim Buckley, who's that?
I don't
never
know.
heard of the
Tim
guy.
Buckley? Tell Tim we're going to get, Tim, if you can hear me right now, you can lock in 6 inches in your neighborhood in Greensboro.
Red line, center line, 6 inches right there.
There you go, right.
Andrew Dockery, another guy you may have, his name's very...
Never heard of him.
Doesn't ring a bell. Yeah.
Sounds like it. He's like, 4 amazing people, love the conversation, but I got to ask, how much snow at my house? Andrew, that's none, because you live about 2 miles from my house. So we're not getting anything.
You get rain. You get rain
all over his house.
Yeah. Let's see. Another GM Weather said, who let Dylan get so good at his job? So Dylan, you're getting some love tonight.
I appreciate it. Thanks for all the support.
Virginia Pendleton, thanks for the show tonight. Looks like we may get a little ice here in Boston and Cleveland County. And Maggie is also asking about the southern foothills, what to expect Friday night into Saturday. And I think we talked about that, just a little bit of ice changing over to rain. And it looks like, Dylan, you got another lover. So you got two tonight.
I'm going to have to go look through these comments.
And now Andrew's laughing at us because he's not getting this.
Right. I also want to just set the record straight. Here in Kernersville, my phone Apple weather app says flurries for the next hour. There ain't no flurries. I haven't seen one flurry, not a single one. Christian, how about you?
Family Feud X buzzer.mp3.
Not a single one of them. No snow for us here in the Piedmont tonight. Too much dry air, too much virga. I actually saw a good example of some virga the other day. Took a picture of it Friday with that upper level low passing by. We had some virga off in the distance there in the Triad. Pretty cool to see. Pretty neat to see some dry air in place. Wish the air would have been a little bit colder. Christian, that was the day where we had some reports of some sleet mixing in as well with those heavier convective bands under that upper level low. But yeah, I think Saturday is certainly a day to watch. It's going to be one of those mornings where we wake up early, kind of watch the trends, look at the temperatures, see how things are playing out, look at the reports. And then once this system scoots on past, and we get generally here in the Piedmont Triad, Christian, I'm thinking less than an inch of rain, probably half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, maybe. But that Tuesday system coming in behind it looks like it could have severe weather, maybe in parts of the southeast, heavy rain, maybe 1 to 2 inches, strong winds. Scotty will be rocking and rolling, holding on to the flagpole down there at the coast.
Let's go.
A lot of us in South Carolina could be.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those patterns where, you take these storms one at a time. We'll get through Saturday, then we'll focus on Tuesday, then we'll focus on another one possibly down the line from that. But cold rain, you're not going to do anything outside on Saturday. Plan to watch some movies, sit by a nice fire, take a nap, eat some chili, grilled cheese, enjoy it. That's Saturday in a nutshell.
There's NFL games.
So did I just hear Christian's cooking chili and grilled cheese for everyone?
Hey, y'all come on over.
Going down to Asheboro. Going up to the Morgan.
You're only 45 minutes. You're only 45 minutes from me. There are no excuses for you.
Christian, this is a person after your own heart. They are wanting a forecast for your beloved Boone, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Lee is wanting to know.
Well, we talked a lot about, the mountains are going to get some snow out of this, but it's not an all snow event. And in fact, we sort of start with some frozen precip. Some icing is possible in the mountains early Saturday morning. Then they'll actually transition to a cold rain too, then before going back to snow for Saturday night. So, a couple of inches possible especially on the slopes and the higher elevations, but this is not going to be an all out banger for snow. Be some nice powder for the ski slopes, especially skiers and snowboarders. Sunday will probably be a nice day on the slopes. It'll be windy and it'll be cold, but there will be some fresh powder to ski on.
It's been good to see some northwest flow up there too.
Yeah, I think so.
Alex Produce telling everyone hello.
Hey, Alex.
How's it going, buddy? God, you're up late here hanging out with us, huh?
Oh, you got to get to bed, Alex. School's tomorrow.
Me too.
Gotta get to bed, go to school. Tweet, make the adjustments to that forecast coming up for Saturday. Let us know what you're thinking.
We're ready to see your weather video on your green screen, Alex. You get that to us.
Yeah, get some graphics behind him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all the questions we got. We'll kind of close this out. Any closing thoughts from you all before we kind of say goodbye to everyone?
Hey,
I would just say, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm excited for you, Dylan. Glad to have a buddy back here in the Piedmont. Glad to have you back home. The competitor thing is, hey, you just work at the other station. We're always buddies, and looking forward to having you back here. And you're going to do a great job. Really love to see the growth that you had in your time at Mississippi and at CBI down there. We're glad you're home, though. We're glad you're home and excited to see you there. And again, like I mentioned, on the weather front, we'll take these one at a time. It'll be busy over the next couple of weeks, so we'll see what happens.
Right, I appreciate it, Christian. During the week, if you're out in the Triad by Lindley Park Filling Station or some of the diners in Kernersville after noon, after the 12 o'clock show, or might run into Christian and I grabbing some lunch or grabbing some coffee afterward. And then we're going to have to all make a trip down to Myrtle Beach, hang out with Scotty, get the guys back together. And I'm excited. I really, really appreciate Scotty inviting Christian and I on here tonight to kind of give our 2 cents about what Christian and I are thinking for the Piedmont Triad. Always happy to come on and talk about it. I have you guys in the Carolinas to thank for where I'm at today. Super appreciative. And on the weather front, I would just say, over the next couple weeks, be in tune with the forecast, pay attention to things, scroll through social media once a day at least to get some updates from us. And we'll keep you posted. We'll get through it and have the umbrella handy too over the next few days for sure.
May want to build that boat, Frank.
Yeah, just like I said, don't panic. This is not a big deal coming up for Saturday in South Carolina. We don't want to, of course, look ahead to what will probably be a bigger storm on Tuesday in terms of rain, wind, maybe severe weather too. Could be pretty nasty, coastal flooding as well. But we're not going to panic about Tuesday. Tuesday's just a cold, rainy day. Unfortunately, I'll have to drive in it, but that's life. It's not going to be an ideal day to drive. It'll be a better day to stay in the house and take care of some of those house projects. Maybe get an early start on the spring cleaning, things like that, because it's not going to be fun being outside on Saturday.
Good day. Bad college football's off, but it's a good day to stay indoors for sure. Here along the Grand Strand, like I said, rainy, windy. We'll pay attention to Tuesday. I think that's going to be a big story. But I'll echo the sentiments of Christian. Dylan, we're getting happy that you're back in the Carolinas, and so excited to see your growth. And I knew home was calling you, so I'm so glad you're back with us. And we're definitely going to have to hit up Topgolf soon.
Yeah. Frank, same here, Dylan. I'm really glad that you're back here. Take care of somebody who had to spend 20 years of his life away from home. It's really good to be back.
Oh, I'm blessed for sure. It's a good feeling. I appreciate it, you guys.
You guys are covered great in the Carolinas. Such a good group of meteorologists here in North and South Carolina. So that'll be it for tonight. I have to say a special congratulations to the Stormfront Freaks for episode 200. They just finished that up. So good job, guys. We appreciate everything you do for the weather podcast community and the great work that you all did over the Disasterthon, raising money for the American Red Cross. So congrats to you all, and all of y'all stay calm. Don't give up hope. Your snow dance, and I'm sure you'll get some snow. If not, Tim Buckley, WFMY. You can send all your complaints to him.
All the bad emails.
Yes, let him be the scapegoat. Right.
That's right.
He's the one that controls it.
In fact, if you want to, you can request an autographed copy of Tim's snow rules, and he'll send it to you.
Oh, might have to send him a text.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to stop recording this. I don't know if you're going to go on live or not because I don't see James back. But you guys have a great evening, and we will see you here real soon.
Stormy the Weather Cat says bye.